every American focused on government accountability needs to watch this Senate exchange. Senator Blumenthal pressed FBI Director Kash Patel on agent firings and White House contacts. See what happens when Blumenthal confronts Patel directly.
In fact, they have been in contact with you about personnel decisions.
The White House has been, do not put words in my mouth. We're on the record that I have lied or am misleading the FBI. If I were, the results that I announced today.
Keep watching to catch every vital detail. Understanding this issue is essential for every taxpayer. Watch the unedited footage now.
I'm not going to mince words. You lied to us. In the short time that you've been FBI director, you've presided over a rash of retaliatory firings. 3 FBI agents have recently sued you. They are FBI agents with 60 years between them of distinguished service, rescuing hostages, saving kids from predators, dismantling drug cartels, and their allegations, their civil allegations, are a searing indictment of your tenure as FBI director. But it's not just those 3. The FBI Agents Association has said that your actions, quote, distract agents from their work, foster fear that their assignments could cost them their careers, either now or under the next administration, and increase the risk of criminal and national security threats by undermining unity and morale within the Bureau, end quote. This association, as you know, is voluntary. It represents 14,000 members, 90% of all the active agents. These are your employees saying that your performance has been unqualified and unfit. And there is mounting evidence that these retaliatory firings were the result of direction from the White House. There have been instances in the past history of the Bureau of political interference and political direction from the director's office, but not the kind of institutional interference that we're seeing from the White House right now. I'm going to ask you, has anyone from the White House contacted you about personnel decisions?
The most critical part of this hearing is unfolding right now. You just watched Director Patel deflect a direct charge of lying by labeling it a simple tit for tat. But beneath that defensive response lies a much deeper issue for American law enforcement. Ask yourself, is FBI leadership placing political self-interest over agency accountability? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Senator Blumenthal refuses to back down. Watch carefully how Patel reacts when pressed on direct White House orders.
I completely disagree with your entire premise that I have lied or am misleading the FBI. If I were, the results that I announced today by the men and women of the FBI and the historic records we are doing to keep this country safe would not be possible. The men and women of the FBI are responding to our leadership and this administration's priorities. The only way people get terminated at the FBI is if they fail to meet the muster of the job and their duties, and that is where I will leave it. And you accusing me of lying is something I don't take lightly, but I'm not going to get into a tit for tat with you.
Well, let me just ask you to answer my question. Has anyone from the White House contacted you about personnel decisions?
Generally speaking, we always discuss with the White House, OMB, during the budget process, how many personnel we need, who we need where.
Answer is yes.
For budgetary
You've been
purposes
directed
and
to fire people, agents, because they participated in investigations of the president.
I don't receive directions to do that.
Has anyone
I make the
suggested
decisions.
it? Has anyone asked you to do it? The best information is yes, you've taken suggestions and direction from the White House in firing qualified agents.
Any termination at the FBI was a decision that I made based on the evidence that I have as a director of the FBI, and it's my job, and I'm not going to shy away from it. And as you stated, those are allegations, and that is an ongoing litigation. So they'll have their day in court, and so will we.
The allegations are not just in that lawsuit, Director Patel, and I think your testimony confirms that, in fact, you've taken direction from the White House.
I don't.
In those retaliatory firings.
It literally
because
does not.
You've acknowledged that in fact, they have been in contact with you about personnel decisions.
The
Let me
White
move
House has
on.
been, do not put words in my mouth. We're on the record. The White House, like any administration, contacts its agencies on the budgeting process and where it needs personnel and where the mission priorities are. That always happens. If they didn't do that, they would be abdicating the responsibility to law enforcement. I will always work with my partners in the chain of command at the Department of Justice and the White House to ensure that this FBI is delivering the results we are delivering, to include the lowest murder rate in modern U.S. history, to include the most fentanyl seizures in modern U.S. history, to include the most lives saved and the most children found in modern
asked
U.S.
you,
history. That is a working FBI. That is not a failing FBI.
Pivoting to historic crime stats is a classic move when questions close in. Patel highlighted lowest murder rates, but he never cleared up where budget talks end and firing decisions begin. That structural firewall exists specifically to keep political pressure out of the FBI. Ask yourself, are crime statistics being used to gloss over White House interference? Sound off in the comments. Watch how Patel reacts next when pressed on political group investigations.
That is not a failing FBI.
Let's move on to a related area. In White House discussions, have you been asked or directed by the White House or others to engage in a crackdown on political groups or organizations, nonprofits, after the murder of Charlie Kirk?
To direct at political organizations? No. I've been asked by my chain of command to properly root out criminal activity wherever it is in whatever investigation we are conducting, and that's what we're doing.
Have those distinctions about whom you're going to target been based on direction from the White House?
Nobody gives me a list on who to target. My targeting list is from the men and women at the FBI.
Have you talked about investigating certain groups, nonprofits, or foundations or institutions?
Whatever those investigations are, they're ongoing, and I'm not going to get into those.
Have you used polygraphs to determine loyalty of agents?
No.
Have you committed that you will respect the First Amendment rights of agents?
I have wildly committed to respecting the First Amendment rights of agents, but at the FBI, you have to balance your First Amendment rights with your mission.
Have you imposed any sort of loyalty test in the course of using polygraphs or in any of the other personnel decisions?
Polygraphs have been utilized at the FBI for decades. They will continue to be utilized in the fashion by the professionals that administer them.
Have you asked under the polygraph test about individuals' loyalty or about their voting records or any kind of past statements?
Just to make it abundantly clear, I don't tell the professionals how to conduct polygraphs or what questions to ask. They make those decisions. And I, as the director of the FBI, never ask anyone who they voted for.
Have you investigated?
Pay attention to the word choice in that last clip. Director Patel claimed he is wildly committed to the First Amendment, but immediately added that agents must balance constitutional rights with their mission. On polygraphs, he gave a narrow answer focused strictly on his own office, leaving it unclear what questions agents actually face. Ask yourself, can FBI agents truly exercise their free speech if internal loyalty tests linger? Drop your thoughts below. What Patel reveals next about donor investigations and the Epstein files is the most crucial part of this hearing. Watch video 4 now.
Have you investigated donors to a political party simply because they are donors?
Simply based on that fact alone? No.
Have you investigated donors for another reason?
Many donors may be involved in criminal enterprises and criminal activities, and those individuals will be investigated.
Can you commit to make public the Epstein files that so far have not been released if this committee is able to review them on a classified basis?
I think this is an important distinction. The Epstein case file is not classified to my understanding. So we are providing what we legally can. and we are going to give Congress what we are legally permitted to do so to the maximum extent of the law.
Will you enable the chairman and the ranking member to review them on a classified basis?
That doesn't make any sense. If the material in the Epstein file is not classified, there is no basis for a
Well, it
classified
would protect
review.
the confidentiality of them if they were able to review them on a classified basis.
If anyone in this room can get the multiple district court judges to lift their court protective orders in the ceilings, we will happily provide you with more information.
Are you in favor of merging the DEA and the ATF?
That's not something for me to comment on.
Well, those agencies work with you, don't they?
With me, not for me.
Are you in favor of orienting the FBI toward a national police function as opposed to the enforcement of federal law?
The FBI does enforce federal law across the country. That's what we do.
But isn't it a fact that you have told the leadership of the FBI that you view it as moving toward a local and state police function?
No, we are prioritizing working with our local and state partners, and they will tell you that that has never happened with this much engagement in the history that they have been serving as local law enforcement officers. I believe local cops are the best intelligence source and the best understanding of their communities, and I folded in my FBI agents under that direction.
Look at how quickly Patel turned that donor question around. He denied targeting donors for political giving, but immediately carved out an exception for criminal activity. That shift sounds cooperative on the surface, but it leaves total control inside his own office. Who decides whether a donor is involved in criminal activity? The FBI does. Which means the question of whether donors are being investigated for their political giving has not been answered at all. It has been deferred to the very institution whose independence is already at issue in this hearing. The exchange over the Epstein files raises another critical issue. Patel's position was that the files are not classified, so a classified review makes no sense. That sounds logical on the surface. But Blumenthal's point was that a classified setting would allow sensitive material to be reviewed confidentially without public release. Patel redirected to court protective orders, placing the obstacle outside his own authority. Whether that is a real legal limitation or just a convenient excuse is something voters will have to decide for themselves. The final exchange about the FBI's role may be the most consequential moment that received the least attention. Blumenthal asked whether Patel had told FBI leadership that he views the Bureau as moving toward a local and state police function. Patel denied it, but then described exactly that orientation. Local cops as intelligence sources, FBI agents folded under their direction, deep integration with local law enforcement as the organizing principle. The FBI was created as a federal investigative body, distinct from local policing, for specific constitutional and structural reasons. The federal character of the FBI is what gives it jurisdiction across state lines, authority to investigate public corruption at every level of government, and the independence to pursue cases that local politics might otherwise bury. If federal independence is quietly being replaced by a local partnership model, the consequences reach far beyond this single hearing. It would represent a fundamental shift in what the FBI is for, and that shift would happen without any vote, without any public debate, and without most Americans ever knowing it was underway. That is the question worth carrying forward. Not what was said in this room, but what is being quietly decided behind closed doors. The fundamental questions raised in this hearing about FBI independence, White House influence, and constitutional oversight will resonate far beyond the Senate room. But where do you stand on this issue? Should the FBI director operate with total independence from White House suggestions? Or is executive coordination simply part of the job? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. To support our mission of bringing unedited congressional oversight and real accountability to light, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Politics Report. Thank you for watching.